Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. I'm BK, and as usual, on the other end, our co-host, Dr. Wayne. Hi, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone. Hopefully, you've all had a great week.
Yes, so we are excited. I apologize. We had a short break last week. So this week we are back again, and this week is exciting because we are going to help you put together the last 3 episodes that we had and then help you understand. Now, remember that we now have show notes. So I do not need to ask Dr. Wayne what we're talking about today. So I know exactly what we're going to talk about. And at the same time, if you want to follow along, as you listen to this, just hit us up at networkmarketerpodcast.com, where you can just sign up for the show notes and we'll happily send it to you so that you can follow along as you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast. So Dr. Wayne, take it away. I am excited to learn about this myself.
So the last 3 podcasts, as you mentioned, BK, we looked at the first 3 immutable laws. And what I want to do now is put them together in a context so that we can actually understand what each of them means, but at the same time, put them together so that we can then see how they flow. So I've called this particular one, how understanding the first 3 immutable universal laws is the key to true manifestation. What I'm going to do to start with is just go through the first 3 in terms of just as a statement of what they are. And then what we're going to do then is go through them one by one as an understanding of how they stand individually, but how they basically intermingle between the 3 as well. And remembering the first law, we called it, who else would like to know how to unlock your true potential? And the first immutable, and remembering immutable means it cannot be changed. However, like gravity, even though it cannot be changed, we can then use it in our favor, or we can access information to allow us to use it in a way that is positive. So if we were in the 15th century, we probably didn't fly. But because now we're in the 20th century, we know how to use gravity with flying, and we can go from A to B quite easily and in incredible pieces of time today. So the first immutable law is the law of mentalism. And the law of mentalism basically is a law that goes through and looks at, it's the first of 7 universal laws. And this is understanding that there is a single universal consciousness. And we talked about how quantum physics now actually classifies this as the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th dimension. Some say 5th, 6th, some say 7th, 8th. But within the 5th to the 8th dimensions, we have this information field. So another way of looking at it is it's the information field. The ancients call it the law of mentalism, or the universal consciousness. And then from there, the second universal law is understanding what's called the law of correspondence, which basically means as above, so below, as below, so above. This means that we are in this is in harmony. It's an agreement. It's a correspondence between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual realms. And there's no separation. There is no separation at all, since everything in the universe, including you, originates from one source. The same pattern is expressed on all planes of existence, from the smallest electron to the largest star, and vice versa. So if we look at this in the human body, it's the same with our smallest cell or our cells, right up to systems and right up to tissues. And then we have the organism, so to speak, as well. And as I said, we'll go through what it all means shortly, but I just want to go through these 3 one at a time to start off with. And then the third immutable law is basically understanding that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. And this is understanding that the whole universe is a vibration, and this is where the law of attraction, which everyone has probably heard about, then comes into an understanding point of view. So comfortable with that understanding so far, BK?
Yeah, so I just wanted to chime in a little bit and say that this was something that I heard from a line in a movie. So sometimes we can learn things from movies as well. I mean, you have to pardon me because I used to do film in the uni, so I kind of gravitate towards that a little bit. But this particular person was talking to another friend. He was saying that no one has ever actually really seen an electron, but yet we believe it exists because we can observe its effects. We can observe its existence.
Yeah.
So he was just trying to bring out a point that we haven't been able to physically see an electron, so to speak, but we can observe its effects and its phenomenon, and therefore we can deduce that it exists. So I just wanted to kind of bring this up as well because some of the things that we are talking about, while we cannot really show you like a piece of cake just in front of you, and but yet because I think in all throughout time, the way we have as human beings we have started to understand and learn about our world is always by observation. And the way we have been able to deduce some of these things is because when you do A and then you observe that B happens, you kind of know that A is actually there. So all these universal laws that we are talking about, interestingly, it started off from observation, obviously, but now there's actually been capabilities of being able to observe beyond just observation and have like cold hard science to show you. But all I'm just trying to say is that if you find this hard to grapple with, understand that there are certain things that we may not be able to physically see, like electricity and even like the existence of an electron, but you can observe its existence, and therefore it is there, it is true, it is real.
Yeah. And even coming back to the physical body, like, how do we exist? What allows us to live? Some say soul, energy. Like, there's just a huge amount of information out there that is suggesting X, but still no one knows how we get up and walk and move, etc. The same as, why does the sun come up in the east? It comes up in the east, So we just don't really. Sometimes we don't need to understand, as you said, BK. We don't truly need to understand the total effect of it, but by observation, we go, "Yep, I understand that." Do I need to dig deep into it? No. It's just the understanding that's really, really important. However, the most important part about this, and this is why BK and I love doing it, is that the way the brain works, the frontal lobe of the brain, it loves new information. And if we go to where most people want a better life, whether it be a relationship, whether it be money, whether it be health. And what happens is that most people, that's what they want, but the very thing that's going to get them to have that is through change. And guess what we fear the most? Change. However, by allowing the frontal lobe to come into its important existence of being the CEO of who we are, what happens then is that we can then actually access different parts of our brain, which will give us different parts of understanding. So that's why we love doing what we're doing here, is helping people to understand different concepts so that there's an aha moment. And I know now personally, if I go to a seminar about health, it might be a 2-day seminar, and I'll hope I will have one aha moment. And if I have one aha moment, I'm ecstatic. I'm really ecstatic, because that aha moment will mean so much to me. So in this information we're going to give, it's going to allow you to think differently, which is now going to allow you to have change that's going to get you to where you want to get to in your life.
So I just want to kind of touch on that a little bit and ask you and clarify. So what you're saying is that while we understand that we all have aspirations for better success in health, wealth, and happiness, right? But the one thing that really stops us usually is change. That means we need to change. We need to do something different to get
Yeah.
to where we want to be. But
Yes.
as human beings, we are constantly resistant to that, right?
Correct.
And but you're saying that the kind of like the captain of the ship in a sense is the frontal lobe, and it loves new information.
Definitely. Yes.
So when you feed it with new information, it then starts to you increase the chance of you having a light bulb moment, and the light bulb moments are the ones that help you to, hey, yeah, maybe I should do this, right?
Yes.
Maybe I
Exactly.
should do
Yeah.
this, and then you kind of become motivated to you overcome your fear of change, and then you are motivated to do the new action that you perhaps need to do for success, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yes.
so by exposing ourselves, and I think that's also why in our industry in network marketing we have always advocated that if someone wants to change, they should be doing a lot of personal development.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I like that. I didn't know that.
It's good.
I, I
It's
I
good.
knew that I always love learning new things, so now I know why. I must have a very developed frontal lobe.
Yes. Yes. And the person who gets stuck, like if you look at the people that we talk to in network marketing who do want to improve their life, improve their to achieve their goals. Sorry, whatever it may be. You notice they get stuck, and they get stuck because of this fear of change. And the best way to slowly overcome this is basically by putting information into the frontal lobe. And it loves what if questions. What if, I know I can't meditate, but what if I did start just sitting down for maybe 10 minutes before I do anything? So the mind is typically, when you wake up in the morning, this is typically the way people will think, is that they'll wake up and they'll go, gee, those things that happened yesterday, I'm really not, it could have been done better. So they're worried about what happened in the past. And then when they wake up, immediately what they'll normally do is they'll go to their phone and they'll look at the emails and all the rest of it, and WhatsApp and whatever else may be on social media. And now they're worried about what they've just found in their emails and their, their Facebook accounts. So the mind actually doesn't get a chance to really sit still. So, so what if I could sit still for 15 minutes or 10 minutes? I could do that. What if, I really do like really listening to some nice music in the background. That's a good thing. What if I could close my eyes, and I like relaxation. I like nature. I could actually go out and do it in the, on my balcony. I know that I live in a city, but I can still hear the birds, and you might be able to hear the birds now tweaking as I'm saying this. So when you ask what if questions or expansive questions, the mind then slowly accepts things. And another way of thinking of it, it's someone, say, for example, someone who has used to being super fit, they're really active, and they might go on holidays for a while, and then something happens and they're not now, haven't been active in the gym for quite some time. And then when they go back into the gym, they're feeling that good, they actually overdo it. And then they, unfortunately, then can end up with an injury, or they might have 3 days of such soreness they don't want to go back into the gym. So why I say that is because don't try and force meditation. I'll get into meditation shortly, or force change. Do things from a what if point of view, and then the frontal lobe will allow thousands of neurons to fire that will give you the experience of the question of what if that makes sense. So now what I'd like to go through is just looking at these three universal laws from a broad brush statement to start with, and then we can go in deeper. So the first universal law, the law of mentalism, as said, is all about there is one universal consciousness, or from quantum physics, it's the information fields. And this is where, and we've talked about it many times before, but just going over it again because it's so important to understand. And this is this aha moment, whereby you might be sitting at home and you just think of your best mate, Phyllis or Philip, and lo and behold, they're on the phone within a couple of seconds. Or you feel that you should go to a coffee shop or go somewhere, and you just get a feeling that's what you should do, and you meet someone that just changes your life. And this is tapping into the information fields that are all around us. And the information fields, this universal consciousness, contains all the information you will ever need. All the information that is available to us is there. And to give an example, even in the first century AD, or even in 1763, or even in 1342, whatever year you want to name, the actual information on how to build an aeroplane was there. But of course, we did not have the technology, the same as the information is already out there, how to overcome climate change. It's already out there. But we haven't got the technology or the mind of the person who's going to have that download hasn't actually accessed that as yet. So this is really, really important in the understanding. The reason I feel this is really important is that we don't have to study thousands of books, and we don't have to become an academic to get unbelievable information that can be downloaded into our mind, into our brain, into our being, that now we can actually understand at another level. And if this information is then to be disseminated or then given to the populace, then you have means of being able to do that as well. This is where we can manifest things far beyond what we would say is our capability. You could use things like the discovery of the light bulb, for example, the discovery of the computer, the discovery of code. You can keep on the discovery of the aeroplane. And yes, there are only very, very small movements right at the beginning. You'd think of the Wright brothers, for example. I think their first flight was only something like 13 or 17 seconds. And now we can fly nonstop at 1,000 kilometers an hour for, 17 or 20 hours nonstop or something incredible. So the major thing with the law of mentalization is that the information fields are always out there, and they have all the information that we ever need to know about anything. I'll just put that out there.
I guess that's a little bit like what we kind of say when we say things like we are inspired.
Yeah.
An idea comes out of the blue. Somehow you kind of, you may have just tapped into the information field without you knowing it. And that is where the essence of inspiration comes. Sometimes, just sometimes you kind of think you have a bright idea, but actually you happen to have tuned into the right station and you grab that information down, right? Which is why, again, they always say things like creative people, musicians and poets and writers, because they are constantly sitting quiet and creating. I guess they are also a little bit more sensitive. And sometimes, I think I remember an episode where you talked about this as well. Sometimes if you want to see a glimpse of the future, have a look at comics.
Yes.
Because these artists, these creative people who are sitting down and then thinking about the future and thinking about characters and superpowers and the universe, sometimes they are inspired by the information field, I guess. And so therefore, you're looking at something that might happen in the future.
Yes, yeah. It's quite interesting, quite fascinating. So hopefully that is a broad brush statement of the understanding of the first law, the law of mentalism. And quantum physics is now in step with ancient medicine, which is thousands and thousands of years old. So quantum physics, which is only goes back to the 1920s or somewhere like that, in terms of understanding. I think that was about when the first thoughts were about the information fields, somewhere back there. It might have been 20s or 40s, somewhere back there. But think of this information has always been known to the ancients for thousands of years, and yet Western medicine is slowly coming to understand this. And even with myself, in terms of health, I was lucky enough around about 25 years ago. And back then, I really didn't understand it to the degree I do now. But I, too, had a kind of a download, and I discovered the 3 steps to health, in terms of 3 steps to getting well, 3 steps to getting sick. They're the same 3 steps, just in the reverse order. And if we want to get well, we do it one way. If we want to get sick, we do it the opposite way. And back 25 plus years ago, when I first thought of all this, once again, inspired, that's a great word. I was inspired, or I tapped into the information fields. The actual science backing up each one of the steps wasn't there. But today, those steps are very, very real, and they've been proven by ancient medicine. And the more that I go against these steps, where people might say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, then what happens is usually the health doesn't go in the flow that it should be. And that's probably a good way of understanding inspiration, and that when you do have inspiration, you notice it just flows. Everything seems easy, which is fantastic as well. So the next law then is looking at the understanding, which is the second immutable law, is understanding the law of correspondence, which is as above, so below, as below, so above. And what this is saying, which we've kind of said all the way through it, is that there is no separation from the universal principles and ourselves. There's only just basically, they say that there's no separation. However, it's the mind that separates us. The same patterns is expressed on all different planes of existence, from the smallest electron, and we said before, from the smallest electron to the largest star and vice versa, but also from the cell to the system to the tissue, etc., within our body as well. And what we mean by what the ancients are saying here as well is that it means that this universal energy and consciousness we are a part of that energy, and we have the ability to command and oppress upon this energy. And this is what we mean by the law of correspondence. So think of it like, in other episodes, we've used the example of we are the transmitter. So think of it, we are the transmitter or the receiver of the information. Okay, so that's another way of thinking of it as well. Anything there to add there, BK? BK?
Sorry, yeah, we are good.
Yeah. We're good? Okay, yep. And so the second law is really just understanding that we are this transmitter, we are this being that can now actually receive the information. So that's the most important part there. The third immutable law is the law of vibration, which basically says that this universal law tells us that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. And this is the vibrationary frequencies that are out there in the universe. And this is where I think I mentioned before that this is where the law of the universe, the law of attraction is based upon. So another way you can think of it is like attracts, and like energy attracts like energy. So unfortunately, if someone is in a negative space of negative thinking, then what happens, unfortunately, is the universe will then give back that negative frequency. So let's just put these 3 together now so that we can now understand it. So think of ourselves now as the transmitter and the receiver. So we want a goal, and the goal might be to be diamond in our network marketing group, one of the highest executive ranks may be. Or if you're in a business, or if you're in a relationship, or whatever, it might be health as well. Your goal is X. So therefore, the mind is sending out a frequency that this is the goal that I want. However, the body is the think of the body has the frequency. The body has the emotional anchors or positives as to whether that's going to be real or not, or happen or not. So we're sending out this frequency that, yes, this is what I want X, but the body is saying, no, I'm not worthy of this. No, I don't feel as if this is me. No, I feel, I don't know what I'd do if I'd actually achieve this. Now, remembering this is subconscious, this is happening within us, and we don't even know that it's happening because 95% of us, science has proven, is basically subconscious thought programmed prior to the age of 7. We don't know it's happening, and then we're wondering why we are not achieving our goal of X. And we've talked about this in other episodes, being the law of resistance as well. Whatever you resist will persist in your life. So what we've got to do is allow the physical body to vibrate at the frequency of the thought that we want to achieve, which is X. Really, really, really important. So what happens now is this, if once they resonate at the same frequency, this now goes up into the information fields and then basically says, here it is. And the interesting thing in all ancient medicine and everyone you may listen to, when you ask for X, it is already there for you. It is already there for you. That is a universal law. That's what these 3 universal laws basically mean. You ask for X because so think of it like the information fields, the universal mind contains X. We are no different than X, so we have access to the universal mind, for example. So therefore, when we ask for it, it's there. However, it's our resistance and our physical body that has the emotional negatives that then blocks it. This is the anchor. How do we get around it? We have to now literally allow our vibrationary frequency in the physical body to match the frequency of the mind that's going out there. And another way of putting it is, for example, you think of X. X is the goal. You want a really nice home. This is the home that you want. You've actually designed it. You've got it all in the mind. You put it you put it into some sort of format that you can look at, a collage, for example. Then you meditate on it. Then you visualize it. And what a lot of people don't do is they don't visualize it with emotion. Your physical body has to resonate at the same level of vibration as the thought. Hopefully that has dropped in a whole lot of aha moments for some people listening today. BK? Hello?
Sorry. The other thing that we commonly hear is that it is the emotions that drives the manifestation.
Yes.
That means when we truly want something and you are emotionally engaged with it, it helps to bring it about faster. I think if you do study this topic extensively, it's quite a common thread among all the different people, whether is it from science or from spirituality or from religious or from any of these areas. It is actually the way we feel, because if you think about it, emotions are the strongest possible vibrations you can actually have. I mean, if the easiest way to attest this for yourself is go to a movie, right? If you watch a good movie, you are not the character, you are not the person involved, yet you can sense and feel the levels of emotion. And sometimes if it's a sad movie or a tragic one, it literally can bring tears to your eyes, right? Why was that the case? Because the directors and the actors have done a good job. They were able to evoke such a strong emotion in you, right? So the emotions that you have about something is actually possibly one of the strongest emotions you have. And I think we also have heard stories where they talk about mothers in a state of emergency because of the strength of the love they have for their children. they are able to accomplish seemingly impossible feats because the emotions were so strong, and therefore it caused them to be able to do things that were seemingly supernatural, right? So totally agree, and I really like what Dr. Wayne said just now, because I've been reading several books at the same time now, and the whole concept about the fact that if you truly understand that if the universe started off as a big bang and then it started to spread from there, and therefore nothing that is present today has not been present since the beginning of time. And also, if you understand physics, which talks about energy, that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just moves from one state to another. Yes. Then this whole concept about your level of health, your level of wealth, or your level of happiness has already existed. All you need to do is just tap into it, you know. And I was just reading this book called Your Money or Your Life, and it has a fantastic definition of what money actually is. Money is actually something that you get when you exchange your life energy for.
Lovely.
So
yes.
all of us have a limited amount of time on this planet Earth, right? And when you trade a certain amount of your life energy, you get back a certain amount of money. Now, the thing is, interestingly as well, because when you trade this amount of life energy, the quality of the life energy can change, and therefore the amount that you get back can also change. It's just like if you think about an orchestra, if it's a world-class orchestra playing the same score and versus a high school orchestra that plays the same score, while the score is the same, the quality of the presentation is different because they have put in such a different amount of expertise and so on. So while the physical quantum of, say, is an hour of your life, but the quality of the hour can be improved, and therefore the amount of resources you get back can also be much improved.
Yes, yeah. And from there, it's the challenge now is how do we put this into something that's going to allow you to collapse time, to get the dreams that you want, to achieve the goals that you want. And it's really understanding these three. And then from there, what do we then do? So, and they say that there's around about 70,000 thoughts a day. And if we really look at our thoughts, when we're first starting out doing this, and this is what we call mindfulness, you'll be quite blown away by how unproductive or even negative those thoughts are. And science, when they do experiments with this, basically show that about 80 to 95% of our thoughts are actually in the negative, unfortunately. And this is what we mean by the anchor or the law of resistance. So the ways that we now can use these three laws to help us to move forward is basically sitting still. The first thing is then sitting still, choosing a time in the morning to do this, and allowing yourself to just experience your breath and breathing in and out, and really trying to feel that breath coming in and out, and not expecting anything other than just feeling the breath coming in and out. And then if you can, we've talked about smiling eyes, so smile with your face and then smile with your eyes is another way of helping that as well. And just try and sit with this, even if you just do that for 10 minutes. They say in ancient medicine that if you can actually truly meditate for 9 seconds, you have achieved what 99.99% of people on planet Earth have been unable to achieve. 9 seconds. So therefore, it basically says it is a difficult thing to do because the mind wants to take us to all different places. And I know when I meditate, and I've been doing this for quite some time, my mind wants to go over here or over there. And of course, because I'm used to doing it, I'll just bring the mind back and say, thank you. Yeah, I don't really need to go over there. Just bring us back to this space right here and right now. And that's what we can do when we're we talk about it being a waking meditation, or every time that we are talking, or every time that we're doing things in a wakeful state, is you'll find that when you're quiet doing things, even though you might seemingly be busy on the computer or watching TV or talking or that, your mind will actually go to different places. And once again, if you catch them, you'll be surprised at how maybe it's not a good place where your mind is just taking you. But what happens is, by acknowledging that, what you do is you take off a lot of the negative emotion that's attached to it. By not acknowledging it, that particular thought actually grows stronger and becomes a bigger anchor that can stop you from achieving your executive ranks or whatever it may be: health, wealth, relationships, happiness, etc. So it's always trying to be, when you're doing things, always trying to be in the now. And remembering, we've talked about this before, if you're basically in the future, typically that's anxiety. If you're typically in the past, that's the emotion of depression. So now you know where you are. If you have anxiety, it usually means you're always thinking of or worried about the future. If you're typically depressed, you actually have a thought process that is something that's happened in the past. If you're angry and really upset and volatile, etc., that usually means you're in between the two. And what we've got to do is just be aware of them. And then what happens is we can then actually come back to the now. So when we're in the now and we have a goal and the body frequency matches that goal, we become the tuning fork, the antenna that now taps into the universal mind. And the law of attraction now actually occurs, whereby that which we thought about and vibrated at the same frequency now manifests in our life. So hopefully that's allowed, encouraged a number of you to look at meditation, look at wakeful meditation, doing it with eyes closed, allowing yourself to be extremely grateful for everything that happens in your life. And the more that we can be happy and the more that we can be aware of where we are mindfully, we have the ability to achieve great things in our life.
Awesome. It's we know it sounds difficult, but we would like to encourage you that it is highly possible. In fact, if you just listen to enough of the successful people. Now, a lot of times we kind of look at the successful people in the industry and say, oh, they have it made. They had a good time, they had easy life, and they're so successful. But we actually always forget that they were once like us. In fact, I heard a statement the other day that was very interesting. Their present is our future. So where they are today is our future, right? So their present is our future. And when they were not there yet, they also suffered and they had to overcome difficulties in their mind and all kinds of challenges. And if you listen to them when they share their success from stage or from a book or from a podcast or from something like what we're doing now, right? You will almost always hear the same common thread that we are talking about now.
Exactly.
Which is the fact that they started to believe, they started to decide that they want to do this. They started to grow their minds. They started to tap into all these things where they have a stronger desire and emotions for the things they want. So we want to encourage you to do the same. And we hope that this weekly episodes of Candid Conversations, we talk about various topics, and hopefully that inspires you. Hopefully that activates your frontal lobe so that you have more information, so that you have more aha moments. And I think if we have done that, we have done well, right? If we have done that, we have done well. So that's our hope for you. And we truly believe that it can be done. It is possible. Because if those people have done it, it means it's possible for all of us as well, right? So thank you, Dr. Wayne, again, for very nice putting together 3 laws that are seemingly separate, but yet when they come together, it truly can help us to activate and, like you said, make us a very good tuning fork for the things we want in our lives, right? So that wraps up another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. If you do want the show notes, do check us out at networkmarketerpodcast.com. I'm going to put the link here, networkmarketerpodcast.com. And at the same time, if you really want to dive deeper into the things that we talk about, into all these universal laws, as well as some other laws that you have not heard of yet on the show, we actually have a program that talks very, very deeply, that discusses this in great detail. And I'm going to put up the link here. It's at the numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com. Numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com. So thank you, Dr. Wayne. I will see you next week for another amazing episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. Bye.
Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone. Bye.